All right. Hi. This is second channel upload for the first time in forever. I've wanted to for a while do a kind of breakdown on mostly like some hidden details in the songs that you might miss, because there's a lot of stuff that either gets buried or just serves to kind of fill in the song. It's not there for you to really hear. It's just to kind of fill in space or to be a cool detail that you might notice. But a lot of people miss them and they go, hey, I never heard that until you pointed it out. So I kind of wanted to point it out. And while I was here, I was like, I may as well just go ahead and start breaking down some of my mixing as well. I'm going to try to stay on track for this, but I make no promises, and I'll probably use some chapters for timestamp chapters for marking out where I show the actual isolated parts of the songs. So if you don't care about me yapping about my music production and the lack thereof, you can just skip to the timestamps if you want to hear the vocals or whatever I'm showing off. But firstly, let's get into something I do a lot, if you can believe it. I play guitar. But I do something with guitars that I don't think many artists do this. I haven't heard it done much except for people with similar influences to me, which is I do acoustic electric in one ear, and then I mic up the guitar and pan that to the other ear. Usually it's around an Ableton. I don't know what these percentages are, but it's just I do 15 right, 15 left for most of the time, and then if I'm wanting a little wider, I'll go to like 20 or 30. And it makes it sound like you've done a double track when you haven't. And for me, that's very helpful because I don't like recording. I like when the song is done. Like, what I enjoy about producing songs is playing the instruments, or especially if I bring a song to recording and I get to come up with like a synth line or backing vocals or harmonies. That's what I enjoy doing about recording. But the actual like sitting there listening to a metronome for 15 takes while you try to get a guitar to sound right, it's not my favorite part. So if I can avoid that, I will. And that's why things like this, doubling it up, can sound very good and save me a lot of headache. So here's some of that. Here is it dry. And there's the reverbs and stuff. It's nothing crazy, but I think it helps to make small songs sound bigger and stay small at the same time, if that makes sense. Like, this song stays small and intimate, but it doesn't sound flimsy with just that one guitar in the middle or one guitar panned and the vocals over here. It sounds big while remaining small and true to the sound that I want. And it's unique. And that's a running theme for me, is a lot of this, I don't record the correct way or mix the correct way or master the correct way, which is to say, I don't even know if there is a correct way by most people's standards. I think there's just different. And if your goal is to mix a song faster or be able to accomplish what's in your head, getting that idea in a song, there are correct ways to mix and things that will get you there faster and easier. But in terms of mixing, I don't think there's really a wrong way to do it. There's just things that generally sound better and make your life easier. All of that was a rant to say I'm not very good at it. I just tend to do what works for me, and usually it's what I've figured out through about 3 or 4 years of doing this, or the occasional YouTube tutorial that I've watched where I've gone, hey, that makes sense, and then done it. But a lot of it is not very correct, can sometimes sound a little funky, and for anyone who looks at any of this and goes, ew, why'd you do it like that? I don't know. It's just kind of probably how I learned it, and I never bothered to relearn how to do it. So speaking of which, if you look at these EQ curves on these guitars, they are wonky. They're very wonky. And EQ, if you're not familiar, something you're supposed to use with subtlety. Usually, it's recommended, I think anyway, to make small adjustments and small cuts to EQs rather than 8 decibel boosts to EQs. But over the years, I don't know what I was working on, but I got a guitar tone with the acoustic side and then the acoustic electric side that I was like, I like how that sounds. And since then, I saved those presets, never bothered to actually learn a better way to do it. Do they sound kind of funny? I don't know. Do they? That's up to you. And a lot of people like them, I think, and some people might not. I know that looking back, I don't like a lot of the ones that I've done, but over the years, I can see like from the first album I've done to now is leaps and bounds better in terms of the sound for me. And I think a lot of people have told me as well that the production is nicer. Like even if it's still very much me and it's like specific and distinct, it's just overall cleaner, better processed. It's not like muddy as it used to be anyway. I don't know. I'm yapping. You guys are just here for me to yap, I guess, if you're here at all. But here is some of the hidden stuff on this song. There is a guitar overdub on the bottom here, and during the riff you'll hear boom, 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 boom. So I was like, what if I think this has chorus on it, I want to say. One of these sends is to a chorus, this chorus. I believe it has a chorus on it, don't quote me, even though it is my song. And it's just me playing that root C, and it drones out. I should have auto panned it and had it like way wider, but I didn't do that. There's a chorus on there, and I just had it try to widen it a little bit, widen the song, add a little more depth, because it is just the 2 guitar tracks, my vocals, so I wanted something to make it a little funnier. And then the chorus on the vocals, which I do fairly often, but I did a little more pronounced on this one because I wanted something again to make it more distinct and not just basic dry acoustic song, because I wanted it to be simplistic, but a lot of the times when I do that, I end up with just boring songs in the attempt to make it stripped down. So this one I was like, let me strip it down, but add a little pizzazz. And then part of that was the top vocal here is to the left, and then this one is in the center and has chorus on it. So this one is like over here, and then it switches over. I can show that. So it's over here on the left, and then it moves. And I thought that was cool for adding a little something. And then in terms of vocal processing, again, bad EQ. Like I don't even know how it got to wherever this is. I just know that like after a certain point of like fiddling with an EQ on a song for a while, I was just like, that sounds pretty good. Let me copy and paste it on everything, which usually means I have to edit it a whole bunch to get it to sound right. So don't do that, but that's where this is at. And I think that's this whole song. All right, this is Tender Hearts. There should be a lot less to go over for this one because, well, you've already heard about how I do my guitars, and you've already heard my vocals, and a lot of like how I think about mixing. So this one should just be more like in-depth stuff. So you might have heard, if you were there for when I did the live stream version, which is why there are these click tracks down here, I turned up a particular track in the intro, which was this. So, you know, despite this being a Misery album, sometimes a guy just gets a little silly and he's recording background vocals somewhere up here, I think. And I was just like, you know, what if? And so I grabbed that and moved it down. I think this is a real swish as well. Yeah, that's me. I have no idea how I did that, but that's that. That's just me. That's not like a a sample or anything. I just did that and then put some bullshit on it. So it sounds like that. And then here's it in context. And so let's hone in on these guys. So I wanted to highlight the rhythm section here because it had that really pretty harmonic there, but it kind of doesn't stand out in the song normally as it does if I'm playing it acoustic, because it's hard sonically to make that stand out, and harmonics are fairly soft anyway. So I was like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do is layer on the harmonics over it and then pan them. Even that wasn't quite hitting the marks that I wanted it to. So I put on chorus, as you do when something doesn't sound quite good enough. Shove a chorus into it and it'll probably sound better. So there's that one, and then the vocals up here. There's not much to say about these. I will say, however, they did not turn out how I wanted them to. They were something about the recording of them, and again, this is to do with me not recording or mixing very good, is they just sounded muddy and also thin at the same time. Like they had too much going on but not enough, and I couldn't quite get them to sound right, and I was like done working on this song, and I just, sometimes I know when to stop. A lot of the times I don't, but sometimes I'm like, I just cannot with this. So these vocals, I don't love them, and that's unfortunate, but they have an auto pan on them because I was like, if they're gonna sound bad, they may as well sound intentional. So I was like, maybe if I pan it and put auto pan on it so it's kind of waving around, you won't notice how awful the vocals actually sound. And nobody said anything about it, which sounds like a good thing. But here's them. Pull me to your neck, your heart under your chest. Soothing is the sound, the safest. But they're a little flat. They probably have too much reverb too. And I probably did that because they were not sticking out enough without it. Which again is part of the reason I'm not a great mixer. Is I look for solutions one way, that causes problems, and I go, okay, let's fix that, instead of like going all the way back down to the root of the problem, which is mostly because I'm lazy. Sometimes it works though. Sometimes it makes cool sounds. But that's enough of hearing my isolated vocals. Here are the background vocals in here. Shudder and I shake, please don't let me break. And that's as much as you're getting of that, because sometimes they sound really pretty and sometimes they sound like that. Usually my backing vocals are either as low as I can go or as absolutely high as I can go to try to give some sort of dynamics. And I'll tell you something, my voice doesn't sound very good that high up. It sounds great in a mix, but on its own, ooh, yuck. So there's that. So this has become a joke amongst my friends now, and we say, yeah, do that whenever anybody says, are you gonna do that or do that? It's yeah, do that. And it's because of this line. Press your legs till we melt away. Yeah, do that. I truly couldn't tell you why. Well, I know why. It's because shudder and I shake. I press your legs till we melt away. And I said, yeah, do that. Because I was feeling silly and I was tired of recording. And it's just funny. And I don't know if you can really normally hear it in the song, because this mix I did is a little different than the one on the album, because I did it for a live version. So I don't know if you can really hear it on the album, but whenever you listen to this next, be on the lookout for me going, yeah, do that. And I want you to start saying it because it's hilarious. So that's backing vocals and vocals. You've heard the guitars, you've heard the harmonics, you've heard the intro sound effects. The rest that I can show you is, here are the bells. And then in context. Hold and then release, shudder and I shake, please don't let me break. And I thought that it didn't need something, but on Tossing Hearts Throwing Knives, I got like deliberately picky with how much I added because I was like, I just want to strip everything back. And I'm funny about that because I'm not a particularly like black and white person about most things, but for whatever reason I got into my head about that album that I was like, I need to make this the most stripped down album I've ever done. And it's like 99% of the time it's just my vocals and just the guitar and there's nothing else happening. And this album I went the complete opposite direction, and 99% of the time there's something going on everywhere. And if you can learn anything from that, it's that you should probably be doing somewhere in the middle. So do that and be somewhere in the middle. But this is one of those times where I thought, hey, it could use something here. And that was the something. I think this is a kalimba. Oh, it's Mellow Bells. It sounded like a kalimba. I was going to use the real kalimba I have, but the tone wasn't quite right. So this is what we got. I thought it sounded nice. And then over here at the end, and that repeats over the whole outro section. And it's not really anything special, but I thought it was fun. I think that's one of the things I have the most fun with when it comes to recording is things like that, where I get to come up with something on the spot, and I couldn't tell you how any of that comes into existence really, other than it just happens. So there's that, and then the very final thing on this one is this guy. And again, that's one of those things where I was like, it just needs something. There used to be a whole section over here, and I was like, it's too much, it's too busy. But for this section, which I kind of think of as a bridge, it's all a verse if we're being honest, but like this section of the whole song is the most bridge-like, and I felt it deserved a little something extra. And I just put this in. The tone on it, for anyone asking, and I'm not gonna go crazy into tones on this because that would get ridiculous, and I also don't know much about tones, but me and Austin were working on some song, and he just accidentally put on 2 Helix plugins, and I think one of them's a unicorn something, and the other one is just a regular one, and it sounded like that, and I was like, whoa, that's awesome, keep it. And then I saved that preset, and I was like, you know what this song needs? So here's that in context. Won't you lend me your eyes and I'll squeeze into you, and I may well be crying out, but I sure won't believe in you. Like an outlet, it flows. My tears drop like snow on your clothes, and it's such a beautiful scene. Each flake blowing in the breeze. How lucky are we? You're the tree I land on to rest at peace. So it's not anything crazy, but it kind of fills in that space, and it makes that bridge section feel dramatic. And like, I didn't want to do a big, like, energetic ending. I just wanted to sort of fill up, kind of like it's rising up, it's getting more cinematic there, and that worked. So there's Tender Hearts, and here is Farsighted. This one doesn't have too much until the outro. Like, this is just like a normal Cash Lighter song. There's nothing really special happening there. But the outro gets fun. This is the first time I had really played around with doing a whole bunch of synth work on a song. And by a whole bunch, I mean that much, which isn't too much, let's be real. But for the first, like, 3 albums I did like no synths on anything because I was using the wrong drivers in my recording software for like 3 years. So the delay of recording anything was a pain, but that also meant that monitoring a MIDI keyboard and trying to play it and hear it back was all kinds of wonky. So like getting things to sound right and sync up was kind of horrible. And for me, like, yes, I could have just tapped it in manually, but my brain just doesn't really work like that. I can't make sense of MIDI like that. I have to be physically playing something to get that feel and to get it to sound right, or the way it is in my head. So after I figured that out, doing MIDI became awesome and easy, and I started doing it a whole bunch, and probably too much, and probably annoying people. But that's where all this comes from, and it gets a little busy over here. So we're gonna take it step by step. So that's fun. Both of those kind of get lost in all of the synths. But I especially like that bass part because it's in drop D and it just sounds gross. But here's some of the synths. They sound a little funky on their own, so here are the other ones which sound cooler. And these are bells and silk horns. I don't know, I was just on some bullshit. So there's those, and then I don't think there's much else to show. I can show you these parts, which are the big swells right before the drop. The only thing I really did there was I did a big reverb swell at the end, so it fills up the space after it, and then right here it chops up, and then it pans back and forth, so it sounds like, you know, choppy. But I'll go ahead and play all of that in context so you can get an idea for where some of that is. Forgot the synths. There's all of that, obviously. And then these vocals up here are real fun because I was like, I want something silly to counteract how miserable the rest of the song is, so let me just add this in. And I did. So here is this. I do what you say, I'll risk my own needs for another stupid chance. And things being sweet, I'll hurt myself, you know it. It's silly and goofy and stupid, but I liked it. So that is Cyclops Kiss. All right, this is Jack and Rose. This is another example of one where there really isn't too much to look at because it's a fairly stripped song except for these string parts and the key parts here. So here are the keys that play during the verses. pianos. They sound kind of weird on their own, but then in context. And here's the piano. If you are ever looking for a killer piano plugin, Addictive Keys are awesome. They're so good. That's what I use for piano on this one. And then during the chorus, here we have strings and piano. I like this one a lot. It's real pretty. My sloppy playing. There's the keys there, and then strings up here. I'm pretty sure almost all, if not all of the strings on this album are from BBC Orchestra, and I think it's a free plugin, and oh my god, it sounds beautiful. Like, some of the transitions are a little whack, but that's probably because I don't do much in the way of like messing with the envelopes or anything, because I know there's all kinds of stuff you can do with MIDI stuff like that to make it sound smoother and more realistic, and I just don't even bother, because for me, after a certain point of layering, I can't hear the shifts between the notes anymore, so I'm like, it's good enough for me. But I could not recommend anything more than BBC Symphony Orchestra. They are my favorite ever, and they are so good. So that's that, and then it's the same over here. So that's all the same strings. And the only other thing to go over is the backing vocals, which are the same over here as they are over here. And what I did here, because I got lazy, is I just copied the main vocal and then I added a sweep overdrive to it, so it's panning back and forth and it has overdrive, and it sounds like it's a separate vocal even though it is completely just the same. Is it noble to sail a sinking ship? Because it's moving. If you kill 2/3, I thought that was cool. And then the outro thing over here. They feel like home, but I can't deny it's a suicide. What does this one say? No boat to sail a sinking ship. For us, we're like home, but I can't deny it's a suicide. To pray for us with what's inside. No boat to sail a sinking ship. What I did there, that was partly practical, is I just covered my mouth. Is it noble to sail a sinking ship? And it like slowly, I don't know, I just did that because I was like, what happens if I do that? And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool, let's keep that in. I also, this is the first time I think where I use this particular preset. This isn't a tuning preset, and I assume it's for guitars to sound like, or for vocals to sound like a guitar. It does not. It just sounds weird, and I liked it, so I use it on anything that I want to sound like strange. But that is Jack and Rose. Okay, this is Slyness Rhythm as a Sleep Aid. This has a lot going on, and a lot going on. Let's firstly start with the intro. I put a tape emulator on the main track, and I have it automated so it turns off later on, which is kind of an inconvenient way to do that for many reasons, but I didn't want to add it to every single track, and I've just got lazy is what happened. So I put it on the main track and just automated it to turn off halfway through, or whenever it turns off. But I did that, and then over here on the intro vocals, these all have that Vox guitar on them, and they're all reversed, so they sound real funky. And then the drums over here, cool. And then this part and this part are just bits of the original flipped around. You'll notice throughout this song that those drums sound like a heartbeat. And originally when I was looking for a kick and snare, I had an idea of like a kind of lo-fi gritty kick snare that I wanted. And I put that one and I was like, good, that's a snare. Like tabbed it all out, had it in the song. Then I got to the outro and I was like, hold on, this sounds like a heartbeat. While I'm singing, your heartbeat starts to sing to me. Hold on, I'm a genius. So that was totally on purpose, guys. So there's that. Nothing really exciting happens in the verses.
All the same, you're not to blame, angel, it's an...
So that's all boring and we can ignore that. But here is the drum kit. Ignore what I did here. I believe what happened was I wanted to edit the snare sound and the kick sound separately. So instead of doing that, I just duplicated the track. Because I'm lazy. So here are the drums. It's a basic beat, but it fits the song and it works, and that's all I really needed. Here are the bass parts. It's real wonky. Wonk bass. Sounds very strange out of context, but in context, it's very cool. But we'll get back to that and I'll show everything in context. Here is the lead line that plays. I'll give you a guitar to go with that. Now keep that in mind. You think that might sound familiar? Wait a second. So yes, that was on purpose. I like doing motifs like that. I'm kind of bad at it, but when I see an opportunity to pull parts of a song and move them around so it's it's a continuous theme, I do as much as I can because I think it's real cool to integrate things like that. Messy solo. And here's the outro thingy. It's so sad. I was real proud of that piano line there. It was very fun to play. So I was glad it turned out well. Then the chorus guitars here go from soft to distorted because, well, I wanted them to. There's also, oh yeah, that. I was like, there's also like a wah sound effect. I wonder why. Because I just cut out the mids there. I just wanted them to sound different and stand out, but also give me a little space to work with, and they did. So there's that. And I guess it's just the vocals. So here are the vocals.
I can't be your entwined, with will not define. I hate to look away, but I can never stay. Not a damn thing's changed, just the place, the name. I speak with different grace, your tongue twists phrases the same. I know, baby, I should've known, but it's hard to stay at home.
Those were the really cool ones. That's part of the reason I wanted to make this video, is I saw this part of this song one time after like looking back at something, and I was like, man, nobody's ever gonna hear that because it's buried under everything else. And I was like, okay, now I gotta make a video. People need to hear this.
I can't be all entwined with will not define.
It's just cool, and they move around and they make for cool harmonies, and I thought it was fun. So that's Sinus with them. Alright, so this is Buddy, and there's quite a fair bit to go over here. I think I want to handle the strings and stuff first, because that's where a lot of the fun stuff lies. But I'll go ahead and put in one of the guitars so you have some form of reference for it. It's very subtle, but there are some strings here for the chorus, and I have them a little quieter than in the second chorus because I wanted that one to feel fuller. But they're still here in this one, so here's that. That was fun. And then again, the marimba over here. I love that line so much. And then again over here. And strings again. But big. Oh, it's so pretty. And you can hear it in the song for sure, but it's so much prettier here. And you can really hone in on it. Oh, I love that part. So there's the strings. Another thing that gets very, very buried underneath, you know, everything else is there's a lead guitar in this song that you basically can't hear. There's just a big harmonic there. Then it comes back in over here. A little more dry so you can hear it better. Ooh. That's such a cool lead. I wish people got to hear it more. Okay, we need to zoom in on that, because what the hell was I playing? Nonsense. So pretty. And then over here is the big like solo thing that I do with it. Pretty sure this was on acoustic as well. I just ran it through an amp sim. So fun. Oh. Oh, this song is so pretty. I love it. That part, oh, it's real cool. It's real cool. So there's all that, obviously. And then the other big thing is there are what? 8, yeah, there are 8 tracks here of me going cuz I wanted, like, I don't know what got me into it specifically. I think a friend of mine who's in choir got me interested in choir things, and I was like, hey, why don't I try to give that a shot and just put a whole bunch of backing vocals in? And then I did, and it sounded awesome, because choirs are awesome, even if it's just me.
All his prizes, watch him for you. I'll be drawn by him, drawn to you, to be drawn by someone we made anew, with a name like Cleo, Apollo, or June.
That was the whole song before it, and it's kind of a nothing burger, which is why I'm glad I put everything I did in it. But at any rate, here are the hums in the background. And that's the song. I don't know what it is about this song, but I just, like, I had an itch to make it something, like, ridiculously beautiful, and I just kept adding and kept adding, and then I said, why don't we put a choir in here, and let's put a whole bunch of strings in, and then it got to the point where it sounds like it does now, and I want to roll that. So let's play that outro, because it's real cool and it's real sweet.
His prizes, watching for you. I'll be drawn by him, drawn to you, to be drawn by someone we made anew, with a name like Cleo, Apollo, or June. What's the sense in this train of thought? I'll be leaving you soon, and he'll have forgot in a few years' time what he meant to me. A snapshot of things not
so cool. Yeah, real fun song. I like it a lot. So that's Buddy. Here is Seeing Stars. This one, again, fairly simple. Again, the last one is quite complicated, but like some of these songs, fairly simple song, but I think it has a lot of fun character. And the main thing when I was recording it anyways that I thought made it cool was this stuff. What I did is I set up a metronome, and then I had my phone recording like on my desk, and then my microphone was like way overhead pointed down at me, and I just played through the song and sang it, and then I recorded the song at the same BPM and then synced it all up so I could splice and wave in and out the different parts of the phone recording and the overhead mic into the song, and then I added some chorus onto it so it was a little warbly, and that's what you get with parts like these. So it's a little extra color that I thought it deserved. Here's that in context. The rhythms, yeah, they stay. So it's just fun. I think you may notice the rhythms here. I think they're EQ'd differently because they sound kind of sharp, and I wanted that. Like, I wanted a really plucky, you could hear my my nails rubbing against the string, and I like that kind of sound for this because it's a real dun 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 dun. It's got that kind of jumpy, bouncy thing, and I felt like it needed a little pop, something to make it a little fancier. I think that's most of the song, really. There's some cello pieces here with the guitar. And then it fades out. You also might have noticed before me, I just noticed the guitars are panned a lot further, which helps with that like wide, plucky sound. It's more distinct, like pronounced, because it's so wide. I was pretty sure that was on purpose. That sounds right from what I remember. Some more cello. And over here we get some more, but then the coolest part of the song, the backing vocals. What they do here is they stair step in. So the first line is just the one vocal, and the second line has two, the third line has three, fourth has four, and so on.
I looked at you like you were the star.
One, two.
Pretty like a waterfall. Nice shed tears, no
And they pan.
parts. Wistful for kissing your scars. Showing that you've come so far. I looked at you like you were the stars. I looked at you and you were my star. And when you look back, I never was.
So there it switches back to the phone mic because I thought it was a cool way to end it. And I'm saying Jesus Christ or something because I was annoyed about the recording. That's Seeing Stars. Okay, so this is Titration, and as you can see, this is going to be a long part of the video because Titration has 59 tracks. In all of my years, I don't think I've ever even come close to 59 tracks on my own. And this is all with love and regards to my good fellow Austin Ibero for making this song, one, as awesome as it is, because the song is great and it wasn't nearly this good without him, but two, for adding like, I don't know, 40 tracks onto this song, because holy shit. We're gonna start all the way at the bottom. This is the outro piece.
Reasons on rock and roll music and why I preach against it, and I believe that it is how beloved with all of my heart that it is through our juvenile delinquency of today. I 100% believe.
A contributing factor. I don't exactly remember where that came from, other than I think it was at TikTok, and it was like, metal bands use this as a breakdown and then hit me up, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna download this because this is actually kind of awesome. It's some speech from way back in the day about this guy who was like preaching about rock and roll music and its effect on the youth of America, and I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna fit the breakdown. It has nothing to do with this song, but it sounds cool. I'll play that for you so you can hear it in context.
Reasons on rock and roll music and why I preach against it, and I believe with all of my heart through our juvenile I 100% believe.
100%.
So stab me deeper, it's not
A contributing factor. So yeah, there's that. That is one track of our mission. Oh boy. So here are some of Austin's guitars. So that's a little part in the intro here. Yes, cycles. Dun, dun. And then over here, I don't. Right. And I think I cut that short because it just sounded a little funky, but it was cool in the background.
talking your god awful friends. I'm thankful
Way back
to
there.
any one of them who told me there was no one where you and I would see the rest.
So there's that, and then Don't mind the don't mind the name of this one. We were feeling a little silly. And truly, I don't remember what this even is. For a penis, it sounds pretty good. There's that same line again there. And then in context, that is this part.
Hallucinating is biz. You think I'd learn, but it's stupid. Cause I know
You can just
it's
barely hear it.
cycle, but it tastes
It's going
so
back and forth.
fucking good. The rope wrapped around my neck. Hallucinating is blissful, not an end in my sight. I think I see.
It sounds
the
evil.
winter kissing our lips in places I used to know.
So not to get too ahead of ourselves. Whoops. So these are the chorus guitars that he does. And then in context, of course. Okay, but so you hear that, and you know what that is. You've heard it, but now if I take those out, it's boring and flat. So there's that. He absolutely cooked on those. Those guitars are fucking awesome. And then the outro over here. Here's our unicorn guitar again. This is what I was talking about on Tender Hearts. This plays a line over the top. Yeah, those ones are real cool. So those are all of his guitars, I think. There's more somewhere for sure. Goat Austin, he's so good at music. I don't know how he does it. This song is like 10 times more awesome because of him. W Austin, thanks to Austin. Claps for Austin. Give a round of applause for Austin in the comments. So here is our swells. Oh, right. Da, 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 da. Context. Oh, those sound cool. And here are these ones. Oh. And these ones. Same ones as these. And then there are some more over here. This is the chorus, the very final chorus. Oh. If you want to know a thing about me and Austin, Austin especially loves him some swells. So if you're ever like, I wonder what that was, probably a swell. And if you want to sound like me, or especially Austin Abero, just like record a really ominous chord, reverse it, put it right where you need your swell to go, and then do about 5 more in 3 different octaves, and you'll probably be good, because that's just about what we do. His only vocal appearance on this entire song, and I shit you not, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tracks of him saying, "Oh shit!" That's all he gets on this song, and it's beautiful. Take a listen. And it's one of my favorite things, and this in context. It's just one of those moments on the album where it's like everything is sad and depression core, and then Austin Abero is in your ears and he's going, "Oh shit!" And it's just like, you know, what more do you need? What more do you need? Let's move on to the bass.
You and I would see the rest.
If you couldn't tell, I did not play that because I'm not that talented on bass. That was Austin, my goat. And here's the next chorus. Yeah, this is the chorus one. That's the instrumental. I'll put it back in context.
I'd drink you straight from the bottle if I could, baby. Come down from outer space and sing to me, oh my sweet lady.
Ugh, yucky. So I don't know if you're seeing this effects chain, but it's it's a lot. And it sounds disgusting, and that's exactly how I wanted it to sound. And then here's the outro. It's the same bass line. But what I add here is a synth bass. This is about the time on the album where I got very good at MIDI and like started to get a feel for it, and it started sounding more natural. I'll put that back in context because it's kind of hard to hear normally. So there's the bass. That bass is so cool. Thanks, Austin, my goat. So now we're on to synths. That's a swell. It just plays for that instrumental. And over here, I believe... Yeah, so you know both of those already because this is just that riff.
You think I'd learn, but it's stupid.
So there's that, and then over here is the first chorus lead. Ah, it's so good. I don't know what it was with me and him where I was like, I want to make it sound like a video game and a lo-fi album and a rock album and an indie album all at once. And he was like, okay. And then he just did it. I don't know how. It sounds so good.
I drink you straight.
I especially love, I'm going to go back to the guitars for a second. I especially love what he did here with the guitars. It's that big slide and then the holding it, it like pulls you and you're like, where am I going? And then the drop hits and you're like, oh, it's yucky and gross. So here's the outro, and these are the synths over here. It's the same ones, it's just layered a whole bunch. So that's the synths. And then drums, I don't even know if it makes a difference in the song. One of them has an acid distortion on them and a hiss, or it's just a hiss. Oh yeah, this one has acid distortion, that one has hiss. So they kind of have one of them with the higher end for like the snare, and then one of them with the low end. Beautiful sound, right? It kind of hits in the song though, like it's disgusting, but I think it works. And then over here are, oh, these are one of my favorite parts. And then in context.
But you give me a rush.
Couldn't tell you where those came from other than I was like, ooh, it needs something. What does it need? And then I just started. Whoa. And I was like, well, there it is. That's what it needs. Ooh, I can show you here. So you're like, what's that drop, Cash Elijah? Is that some cool synth? Nope. It's a guitar. It's literally me hitting the strings on the guitar. I think I can... You can hear it, sort of. I don't want to mess with all the automation on this right now, but that's what that is. It's literally just me smacking the strings at the end of the strum. I turned a whole bunch of distortion on, panned it really quick left to right, so it sounds like vroom. And that's the drop. That's the whole drop. It's so damn cool. It's awesome. It's my favorite part of the whole song. This song brought out something in me that made me want to make the whole thing gritty and disgusting and gross and like a horror game as well. And it's awesome and I love it. Here's some of the background vocals in the verses.
God knows what and shit talking your god-awful friends. I'm thankful to any one of them who told me there was no one where you and I would see the rest.
So there's a little of my embarrassing backing vocals.
Hallucinating, it's blissful. I think I'll see you though.
It's just fun. And then in the second verse over here we have Austin's and this is my bad, his second vocal in this whole song.
The name, it's sickening.
He gets these.
The name, it's sickening. It's sickening.
He's just barely in there for that line. And that's Austin. So that's most of the song, but here at the final chorus is where it gets real interesting for me vocally, because I just started hollering, hooting and hollering and shit. I had this first one which was just normal, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a yelling one, and then I was like, that sounds good. What if I auto-tune the shit out of my voice and start like pushing the notes really aggressively so it's like kind of jumping and it forces the auto-tune to bounce around, and it sounds very cool.
I drink it straight from the bottle if I couldn't, baby. Come down from outer space and sing for me, oh my sweet lady. You never quite what I want.
He sounds so sad.
But you give me a rush. You dug a hole in my heart. Drug me up on what's lost. You kissed a hole through my heart. So stab me deep where it's not.
I'll point out here, and I won't, you know, I'll try to be humble about it, but I think on this album especially, I had like a very tapped in control over my voice. Like I could go from yelling to very soft quickly and make it sound so smooth. Part of this was mixing. Like the way this section works is the two extreme vocals, the chorus, the yelly one, this guy, and then the auto-tune ones, they mush into the middle right as my clean smooth vocal also moves back into the middle and gets louder, while the other two get quieter. So it's like everything moves in together all at once, and that took a long time to get it sounding right, but when it did,
so stab me deep where it's not.
And then I want to lock in on this.
So stab me deep where it's not.
Not to toot my own horn, but the way I go from quite aggressively singing it, and then straight back into smooth is just like,
you kissed a hole through my heart, so stab me deep where it's not.
Like I don't even know if I could do that now. And then that's Titration. So yay. And then here we have For Me. This one, I don't know if there's too much to go over in this one, really. It's fairly simple as a song. Certainly much simpler than Titration. Riser, I hardly know her. It's just a riser. It plays during the transition to the second verse, because I thought it needed something here.
Didn't change your mind that easy. Doesn't hit me till I roll away.
And okay, whatever, maybe it's a little cheesy. Who cares? Have some joy, have some whimsy, you asshole.
We're free, didn't change your mind that easy. Doesn't hit me till I roll away.
Anyways, so that's that. The intro stuff over here all has a fade in, so I'm just gonna work on what's over here. Tambourine and drums. There's really not much to say about these. They're quite basic. One day someone will love you how you need. 5 likes and I'll release this version of the album. One thing I'll say about my cajon playing is it's not good. It doesn't sound good, but it kind of doesn't need to in most of the songs because it just needs to be rhythm. It doesn't need to sound like good rhythm or like clean mixed rhythm. It just kind of has to serve the purpose of a kick and a snare, and it does. It sounds like a kick and a snare most of the time, and other times it sounds less like that, but we don't have to talk about that. So there's that. There's my drums, and then bass over here. That was evil. Here's the pre-chorus though. This bass line, I think, goes unnoticed because it's so buried. Oh, it's such a good bass line. Over here by the solo, we'll get to the solo a bit later as well, but I kind of have to show you the bass for the solo because it's awesome. So yeah, what can I say? It's a pretty cool bass line, I think, and I think it complements the solo quite nicely. Here's the part for the bridge bit. It just plays over. I forgot the acoustic is like fairly low. We'll get back to that. Here's the pre-chorus guitar parts. Only until after I fully published this song did I realize, hey, wait, that's just Iris, isn't it? There's that. Go ahead and show you the Ebo swells over here. They just fill some space, and they sound pretty. Segues nicely into the lead. You can't hear this on the album. like the way that it pauses between, so it's like and it gives you a fun little pause there. This lead is one of my favorites I've ever written. It's really good. It's a really good album, huh? I did good with this one, huh? Here's a solo. Fun story, the way I write most of my solos is I'll just play, and then I'll play and I'll improvise, and that's where we get, which is like why these two ending bits here, they're a little different, because I just played a little slight alteration to that tail each take. This, I want to point out this tapping bit, because it was a pain in the ass to record, so I want you to like it and notice it. So that was a pain, and then this part is a callback to the Pitfalls solo. So that's part of the Pitfalls solo, and it just happened to be in the same key, and I was like, oh, okay, alright, I'll do it. I'll put it in. And I thought it sounded cool. Here are the electric guitars that play for like the whole song, because I thought it just needed a little crunch. And this helped with it. And they sound so good. Do I release this version? I'm gonna play, I'll focus on the outro last, because it's like the coolest part of the whole song. Backing vocals.
Hold out faith anymore.
Let's play that one back.
Hold out faith anymore.
Choir who?
All I ask
Me.
is have her humming in the air, saying that
It's so pretty, right? It's awesome.
One day to ache again. It's pain, it's sickness. I love it like it were you. Hope I hold in my heart.
I was just on some nonsense, huh? I thought those are cool though. And then the chorus vocals are fun and interesting, and also a pain. It took me so long to get them right, because trying to balance that high vocal and the low vocal together, it just took forever. But I got it there eventually.
One day someone will love you how you need.
What I ended up doing is I auto-tuned and put a whole bunch of chorus effect on the high one, so it would be kind of jumpy and hopefully stand out more, and I think it worked.
One day someone will love you how you need. They'll have the answers to every pet peeve.
That's enough of me. Okay, so the outro. The outro is the important, cool part. And this part, I'm just gonna play without isolating anything.
Your mind that easy. Long since lived in. I'll smile when I die, 'cause I was free. Didn't change my mind that easy.
So that part, one of my favorite parts on the whole album. I like how everything kind of pulls back and you're given a little space there to like relax and go, hey, everything's all right. And then it pulls back in later, and then it gets big, and you have this outro, and you're like, hope core, everything is gonna be awesome and beautiful. So that's my album. That's probably as much, if not way too much, yapping about it. It's as much as I have, and too much yapping. And I'm sorry I didn't really talk about much of the mixing because I don't know. I forgot most of it, and most of it's boring or embarrassing how bad it is. That's my album. If you guys have any requests for videos, or if you want more specifics about anything, I can happily put out shorts or full videos on anything. And also, I've been thinking about publishing in some fashion the instrumentals for these songs, or even like the stems for different parts, for those who want them for any reason really, because I just don't care. You can have them. So if you're interested in any of that, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna hit the stop recording button.